people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is written and directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Letitia Wright as Shuri, Danae Gurira as Okoye, Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, and Tenoch Huerta as Namor. Welcome people. If you are new to the channel, please like, comment and subscribe. If you enjoy this type of content in regards to movie reviews, trailer reactions, MMA and boxing, combat sports, live stream reactions in some of my spare time. For all of that fun stuff, subscribe. Plenty to look forward to here on the channel. And yes, we are talking about the much anticipated, the long awaited Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now with this video, the first half of this, we are going to be talking non-spoilers, the main kind of review, and then we're going to go into a spoiler talk discussion, going into more emphasis about the cons of this film. The first half we're going through pros, and then we're going to go into the cons of it. So, man, where do we start with this? Black Panther was a cultural phenomenon. It took the world by storm, with our leading man Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, a great representation of African culture. And I remember taking my mum and my sister to see the film in IMAX, and I believe it would have been their first time watching the film in IMAX, and I remember how taken back they were by the experience that they had with it. So a lot of great memories from watching Black Panther. And then sadly, on August 28th, 2020, we had all woken up to a complete and utter tragedy, a tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman dying to colon cancer. Now, and it was something that couldn't prepare any of us. And in the aftermath, with the production of Black Panther 2, there was, as I presume and I believe, there must have been extreme rewrites of this film, and you know, to get to some place of having a cohesive sequel. And you know, just off the bat, I just want to say my condolences to the cast and the crew and anyone that's just been affected by this loss, and because I certainly felt it as well. You know, to go at such a young age like that. Ryan Coogler was mounted an absolute gigantic task of creating a sequel to the culture phenomenon that was Black Panther, and I can only imagine just how much pressure that must have been. So, you know, I got to tip my hat to him for, you know, for rolling with the punches and giving people an experience with this film. And as mentioned in my short, this film has many things to like about it, and there are many things that don't hit the mark as well. And we are going to get into detail about all of that here. One of the standouts that was very apparent in this film, and it was Letitia Wright's performance as Shuri. She is the heart of the film. She carries a lot of the film's themes about grief and the acceptance of moving on. Shuri in this film is completely flawed. She is as unprepared as any loved one could be in a situation that she faces. And seeing the character arc of her going from this, kind of bubbly, that kind of technician to becoming this this leader was quite like I gotta say was awe inspiring and really heartfelt with the journey that this character takes. And in brilliant complementary to Letitia Wright's performance in this film, we've got the absolutely outstanding, earth-shattering soundtrack from Ludwig Göransson, and the track that plays when Shuri takes the mantle of Black Panther. It is absolutely spellbinding. It is I gotta say, it's one of the best themes tracks that I've heard for a character in recent years. It's right up there with tracks of Man of Steel, Winter Soldier. It really is of that caliber, and that track just hits you right to the core and right to your bone. It's goosebump inducing. Okoye was solid in this film. She has a brilliant one-on-one duel with a member of the Talokan, one of the generals, and that was a great kick-ass fight scene. And on the topic of action and fight scenes, I think that Ryan Coogler is just one of the best directors on this planet of doing fight coordination and action. He really is great at doing that, and in doing so, that and some great moments of cinematography where he uses one shots to either push the emotion of a scene, and also the intenseness of conflict in a fight scene, and he uses that to great effect. Tenoch Huerta's portrayal as Namor worked. I felt like as if his backstory and his origin was a little bit rushed and kind of brushed over a little bit, which is going to be something that we're going to touch a little bit more on in the spoiler discussion. Winston Duke as M'Baku adds great levity to the film with his one-time jokes and his improvisation, and it's a good kind of, I'd say, palate cleanser to the dark and somber nature of the themes of grief that this film is touching upon. But it wasn't so much done to the point where you felt like the jokes were taken away from the film, or that the jokes were going against the overall tone of the film. I felt like they were added in specific moments where they were needed. And there is a great scene with M'Baku and Shuri where M'Baku's kind of given a shoulder to lean on for Shuri when she's in a dark place. And I think the way that Winston portrayed that was great. We are now going to be talking about spoilers. So from here on in, you're being warned. We are now talking about spoilers. Now, when this film ended, my friends had a very imminent reaction to this, right? And because the film throws you through a complete, just this whole wormhole of emotions. At the end of it, you feel like you've been hit in every direction. And I wanted to have a little bit of that time to myself to really think on what I witnessed. Truth be told, with this film, I think that there were many things with the character development of certain characters that really let this film down. And the more and more I think about the opening of this film, I can only believe that it just was the wrong decision. And I'm going to get into detail about that now. With the marketing of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it was heavily marketed on the fact that T'Challa had passed away, pulling on the emotional strain that we were all feeling when Chadwick Boseman passed away, in occurrence to real life events. They're both perpendicular, they're both pulling from that emotion, and the actors are pulling on the emotions similar to the real life events that have happened with Chadwick, now carrying over the events of T'Challa. So the film opens, right, and you've got absolutely no time to think whatsoever. It starts, and Shuri's inside of an elevator, and she's praying, and then bang, straight away, one shot. There's doctors left, right, and centre. They're trying to find a cure. We know that T'Challa's in a bad way. So this is where the film loses me a bit, or loses me kind of wholeheartedly, to be honest with you. In the space of time that she gets into that laboratory, she creates something in that lab that has a 20 or 30% chance of saving him. Now, T'Challa dies of an unknown of a virus, supposedly that was given to him by Killmonger. That's what a lot of fans have alluded to, and I can't even remember if it was even really stated in the film. All I know was it was an illness or a virus to some capacity. Now, what kind of teased me off a lot is the fact that T'Challa's character, he passes away because he is too proud to ask Shuri for help, right? And here's the thing. In this day and age, in this day and age where we take a lot of things for face value, in this matrix infested, dopamine injected world that we live in, we people do not like to think about the bigger picture of Wakanda and the bigger picture for these characters. T'Challa, as a character, wholeheartedly loved his family. And the very idea that he wouldn't ask for help is absolutely ridiculous. And Disney, don't get this twisted. Nobody should ever get this twisted. Chadwick Boseman, he told his closest family and his friends, his closest friends and his family knew that he was battling cancer, going through chemo, and going through numerous amounts of surgeries to beat the cancer. The very fact that they've spun it and made out like he was too proud to ask for help and this and that, I can't help but think that that is a dig at Chadwick. Now, you're going to have to think about what I've said on a deep level here. And if you give it enough time, you will realise that it is wrong, what they done. The very fact that Shuri, in that time, she finds out the situation and she's able to get some kind of cure with a probability rate of 30%, or in the space of what, 2-3 minutes or whatever time she was in that laboratory, it undermines the character of T'Challa, right? And think about the law of Wakanda. Go back to when the whole thing with the Sokovia Accords in Civil War, when Bucky was on the run, so he goes to Wakanda. They use a cryo chamber to freeze his body, right, to preserve him. What happened to the cryo chambers? Are they gone? Is this bad writing? It just doesn't exist anymore. So they, if you wanted to preserve the character, they could have very much well gotten him, put him in a chamber over a period of time, worked on numerous amounts of different cures, and they could have cured him. So there are elements with the writing, the decision making that they've done, that does not add up to the law that Civil War and Black Panther created for the character of T'Challa. You can take that whatever way that you want, but that is how I feel about what they've done with the character. I want to go back and talk about Shuri now. Shuri as a character, I think it was, as we know in the comics, there was a brief period where she took up the mantle as Black Panther. I think some point in the comic where T'Challa was recovering from an injury, so she takes up the mantle. But I think for what they were going for and the story that they wanted to tell, it made sense. And also, and now this is a part where they get the lore of the essence of Black Panther and Wakanda right, is that it's explained that when Killmonger had his little brief reign of Wakanda, that he got rid of all of the heart-shaped herbs. Now, and obviously we know this is the thing that gives you strength as the Black Panther, gives you the ability of power, speed, agility, all of that good panache. Now, it was completely destroyed, and the only person clever enough to recreate it and bring it back was Shuri, and that made sense. And obviously with all the multiple times in this film where she's flawed and things get taken away from her, and she's getting pulled at arm's length in every emotional beat in this film, I think it made sense for her to think, right, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. And in juxtaposition to her going to the ancestral plane and seeing Killmonger there, I think that was a clever moment, because in order to protect the city, she had to go to a dark place in order to protect her people, right? You couldn't hold hands and sing Kumbaya and all that, because Neymar had already rocked up, nearly blew Wakanda to sky heaven. And I think it made sense that Killmonger showed up in the ancestral playing field, because it was the energy that Shuri needed to pull upon to protect her nation. So in that aspect, I think they got the film right. Now let's talk about some moments that we had with the character of Riri Williams. Riri Williams is introduced into this film, and I really just scratched my head and just frowned at the screen. I knew when I watched it there was something odd about it, but then when I started hearing other people remember the scene and talk about it, I then realised, oh, so that's why I felt that way. So we're introduced to Riri, and she's taking these like quick money alibis from other people, where she's I think she's being paid from other students for her to do their coursework or correct their, I don't know, their technological advancements or whatever the case might be. And she kind of strong arms one of the students and ups the price for this student to pay her, because I don't know, the guy delayed on a payment or something. But I'm just thinking, why am I being introduced to her and she's asking money out of people to do their work? It doesn't feel right. In comparison to a character like Iron Man, which Riri Williams is kind of all inspired by, the character of Iron Man created a suit, and by the second time he made his suit, he took it on his own accord to go fight terrorists. But, back-to-back times he fought terrorists. And here we've got her just asking for payouts from students. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And obviously it only doesn't make sense further because she's a side character in this film, and I just know that we are not going to get any form of a backstory from her in this film. So it could make sense if it's her own story, but in the confines of being a supporting character, taking up these decisions where she's not the lead, it's just baffling. It's not needed. It doesn't need to be there. Queen Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett. Now, I've been in the aftermath of this film, after the weekend, I've been hearing a lot of people say that Angela Bassett deserves an Oscar. Hand on heart, I think Angela Bassett's a good actor, but for this, no. Please, let's stop that talk right now. Look, apart from this character's interactions with Shuri and possibly her UN speech, I found that most of the time in this film she was completely ineffective, and the decisions that she makes are just, they're dubious and just out of left field, and they make no sense. We get Namor asking her for help, and imminently she doesn't want to bother with Namor, and it takes the guidance and the the prodding in the right direction from Shuri to kind of change her mind. I think one of the biggest decisions in this film that kind of annoyed me the very most was the fact that she goes to Nakia and she asks her to infiltrate Talokan to bring back Shuri home. And obviously, as we know, as we get to the end of the film, we know that Nakia has the son of Prince T'Challa's son. And she goes to her full well knowing the risks that she's doing. But in the writing, it's in the sense of, oh, but there's nobody else to do this, you know. I mean, you know, what about all them? What about all them warriors that you got in the Jabari and the, you know, all these other mandem, and you got the Dora Milaje and all these other people, but you're gonna send Nakia to go, you know, the one that's just had it, just got the Prince of T'Challa, and then if you die, then that's another family member gone. It's just like, what? What's going on here? You know, I don't know, and I didn't like that decision from her. Another head scratcher is, I believe, I can't even read, because again, there's so many things that were happening in the film. I know that at a certain point, Namor tells Queen Ramonda that, for every reason, I don't know, but if you, I don't know, if you step foot to Talokan again, or like, I'll kill you or whatever. But then, you know, Namor shows up to Wakanda, and she's standing, I kid you not, she's standing right at the window. She knows the intentions of Namor. She stands right there. She doesn't run away. She doesn't think, oh, let me run away. Let me go get one of them big fuck off vibranium spears to throw at his fucking head or something, right? She just stands at the window. Namor throws bombs. It blows up the thing, right? And then she dies. It's just like that whole scene was just not thought out well. And then she dies. And I'm just thinking, there's too many. I felt like that decision as well, that very decision as well, was just out of left field. That it just wasn't needed for the film. I mean, you're already dealing with the darkness of losing T'Challa, right? And all these other things. I just felt, okay, you're not, when she died, it just felt like it was over the top, and that it was just purely done for shock value now. There are just too many unnecessary characters in this. The intro that you got Martin Freeman's character, who I just can't even remember what agent he is, and then you got the other girl. I think she showed up in the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, where she's trying to get a new cohort of mercenaries to do Thunderbolts or whatever the case might be. And it just felt like when they were injected into this film, you really felt the runtime just drag on, right? And this is the thing with most of these Marvel films, is that, am I watching the sequel to Black Panther, or am I watching, I don't know, like a cannon foddered TV series for the MCU with having these characters there? I just felt like they weren't needed in any capacity. And I don't even really think they were that effective to the plot. I mean, effective to the plot of maybe Martin Freeman's character of now being landed in some deep doo-doo. But other than that, where does he really have a stakehold in the film? And like I say, if things weren't just drawn out and bloated, we could have had more in Baku, right? And especially, I felt like the presence of Ayo was missing a lot. And I know she had a couple of really great moments in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with getting Bucky to come back round to his senses. It just barely feels like she's in the film. And there's a new introduction to a character. We first see her in the first, when the French soldiers infiltrate a Wakandan laboratory somewhere at sea. I don't know what character she was really meant to be. I almost get, I get that they're alluding to the fact that she is a new Dora Milaje soldier, but it never really was set in stone that she could be that character. You know, it just kind of felt like she was I don't know, a co-civilian in the film, when obviously that wasn't the case. And I think they could have done better to set that in stone a little bit for me. Here's two things that I think people are not giving much thought to. How did Riri Williams get that vibranium contraption in the middle of the ocean? How did that happen? And how did Namor get inside Wakanda if the whole thing is gated off by these metaphysical vibranium doors? So how did he get into Wakanda? You don't see it, it just shows up, and then the scene kind of just takes on from there. Don't know if that's a continuity error, an editing error. I don't know. It's just something that I picked up on. And lastly, the end credits. The end credits was, I don't know. It was endearing, that, you know. But again, this whole thing of he was, you know, he's being hidden from the world, from the Wakandan society. Again, it's something I don't know how to really feel about. And it doesn't sound. Why would T'Challa keep it a secret from his family members? You know, it was quite, or sorry, rather it was, I believe it was kept secret from Shuri. For what reason? He doesn't have a conflict or a spat with Shuri. Why would he not tell her? But only Nakia and the Queen knows. It's like, and the whole Wakandan civilization doesn't know. I mean, it was quite bloody obvious that T'Challa was head over heels with Nakia. Like he really did love that girl. I mean, you know, the whole running joke in the first film, you know, he freezes when he sees her. So why he would keep that a secret from Wakanda? Just why? I don't get it. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I say, doing this review has really torn me up. And you know, I don't know. I'm very torn up on this film. And like I say, there are moments of brilliance. I mean, Shuri's character arc is absolutely phenomenal, right? Oh, one more thing. Namor stabs Shuri, spear goes through her. She just brushes up, jumps over him. I'm like, there was clearly plot armor to that. But okay, that's not for the nitpicks. But yeah, a very disjointed film that what it does, it has a way of luring you into the loss of Chadwick and T'Challa in this weird notion of making the character one and the same, when that's completely not the case. And you know, it plays on your emotional attachment to Chadwick Boseman, and I think that is wrong. T'Challa is a character that should be celebrated. He shouldn't be mourned like excessively, right? Obviously, with the confines of a story that you want to tell, I get that, but I think we've even heard that from Chadwick's brother, that he would have wanted the character to be recasted, and it's been stated that from Chadwick as well that he would have wanted the character to be recasted, and just to carry the same love, the same ethos going forward with the character. And look, people, I know this has been a very almost passionate and semi-ranked kind of review, but you know, these are, I'm looking at this film through the confines of being a filmmaker, because that's something that I want to do, right? And if we are not able to give constructive criticism, then how can we ever improve at anything, right? But ladies and gentlemen, I'll be finishing off this review. I'll be giving Black Panther Wakanda Forever a 5.8 out of 10. Yeah, it's okay, but nothing that I was really it didn't live up to my expectations. But that's enough of me talking. Thank you all for watching. Check the description for more videos, and I'll see you next one. Cheers.